Upasana's project, Ojas, focuses on text and technique with a purpose to demystify, enhance awareness, and learn. It started with appreciation of Tamil texts, an overview by Professor S. Raghuraman on 3000 years of Tamil literature. One led to another. MeipAdu, a 3000-year-old Rasa theory, Silapathikaram, 2nd century AD, Nachiar Tirumorzhi, 8th century, Kamba Ramayanam, 12th century, Abhirami Andadhi, 18th century, and Bhardiya's Panchali Shabadam, 20th century. Sir's academic rigor and passion led us to more questions than answers. What continues? What fades away? The difficulties and significance of archival. And thus, the journey started, revisiting and contextualizing our past with experts in different topics. Gandhi, Making of a Mahatma, Devadasi Factoid series, Translating the Arangetrakade. It is not a project just for dancers, but for each one of us, as parents, as individuals. What is this about our past? Is it relevant today? Why is it important? How is it important as we shape our future? To explore further, a group of dance teachers and students in UK began this journey in October. Relearning, unlearning, back to the beginning with a focus on the journey, immersing, internalizing, and organically evolving. We now welcome you to the Ojas Sangam Festival of 4 weekends. The first week shares these moments as we lead up to a Sangam performance. The second week looks at what it is to translate a text to performance. The third week looks at changes in different fields across time. What is the relevance of revisiting our past? Every day, we will have 10-minute YouTube clips joining the dots. Every Saturday, we will have a YouTube event followed by live conversation. Tune in to Upasanaarts YouTube channel at 10:30 a.m. UK time or 3 p.m. India time. Join the Ojas family. Today, we start from the very beginning. What was it like? The Sangam classes? A Sangam poem? Tomorrow, we have a YouTube premiere and a live conversation with Divya Kasturi, where she reflects on how a 3000-year-old Sangam poem on sleeplessness pretty much consumed her. On Sunday, Priyadarshini Govind speaks on what is it to be part of a holistic project. We look forward to your responses. Your experience matters. Please reflect, comment, ask questions below. Welcome to Ojas Sangam Festival.
When I first attended Professor Raghuraman's classes, what came to me were memories of two people I hold very dear. One was my grandfather, who used to write to me stories of the Ramayana. And the second was my high school English teacher. It was Sir's openness to all types of literature that made him contextualize Sangam and also highlight the differences and therefore make us get more familiar with concepts that we thought were ancient, with which we thought were hard to understand. So it was the simplicity in the complexity which made it real for me. And I think it was his openness and his strong hold on that period's grammar that made the instant connect. In one of our discussions, he said, when a boy and a girl are in love, they are also physically involved. Again, that struck a chord because in day-to-day living, we are still grappling with the thought of live-in relationships. And here we were looking at history, at literature that was 3,000 years old, which commented on the social ways of life of that period, where people knew the norms, the do's, the don'ts, the limitations, and yet wore it all with so much pride, yet wore it all on his sleeve. There was nothing to hide. And today, in today's context, when we have movies that are so forward-thinking and have all the artistic license, we still find that they have difficulty in trying to convince a modern thought. There's a lot of grappling, there's a lot of discomfort, and there's a lot of coming to terms too. So the irony is that not only are we ignorant, but we're also in denial by calling ancient as old-fashioned, when actually we're just reinventing the wheel. In one of these conversations, unwittingly so, because arts has a way of bringing down barriers, we were in the middle of a discussion on choices that one has to make in life. This was in context of a Sangam piece of poetry. And we were having this discussion on the tug of war, choices between the head and the heart. And just like that, people started dropping that layer of unfamiliarity. They reached out with their own stories, their own turmoils, their little victories, their big worries, how they fought through or navigated through life. And in that instant, the barriers of time, geography, language, unfamiliarity, everything disappeared. Sangam almost became a leveler there. Whether you were Tamil speaking or non-Tamil speaking, suddenly we all gelled. And in the true sense of the word Sangam, I think there was a confluence then. Like I said, confluence of trials and tribulations, victories and worries, but slowly and surely, each one of us had started to reach out and also started to find our place in the project. It became very evident that ancient and modern is all relatively spoken. What touches you is what is here and now, whether that is a 3,000-year-old piece of poetry or whether it is 19th century English poetry, whether it is in Tamil or in English. It is not fixated on one person or on one story. What comes together is a beautiful amalgamation of the landscape, the breeze, the flowers, the animals, the seasons, the moods, the incidents. Everything contributes equally yet unequally in etching out the characters, the story.
In the course of my research on the heroines portrayed in Bharatanatyam repertoire, I came across a plethora of women with very varied emotions. However, on close examination, Their very definitions and classifications were almost always with the relationship to the hero as a reference point. This led me to wonder if women at any point of time were treated as individuals with their own unique identity and not as someone's heroine. I was at a loss to define and classify characters such as, say, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, Florence Nightingale, Mother Teresa, and that is when my guide professor, Dr. S. Raghuraman, introduced me to literature of the Sangam era, which threw open a treasure trove of literature with women as unique or exclusive protagonists. For instance, there is this mother who answers a girl's question about her son's whereabouts. And she says that her womb is like a den abandoned by the tiger after a brief stay. Go and look for him in the battlefield, she says. And then there is this brave wife who goes to the aid of her wounded husband in the battlefield and pleads with him to hold on to her forearm and walk to the foothill, as he was too broad-chested or else she would have carried him. And then there is this mother who swears to cut off the very breasts that fed her son if she found him slain as a coward with a stab to his back, as claimed by some of the villagers. As an attempt to portray the unimaginable valor of the Sangam women, I would like to now briefly present a poem by one Okkur Masatiyar. In this poem, the protagonist is a young, valorous mother. What courage! What a valorous woman she is! It's beyond comprehension. On the first day of war, she lost her father in battle as he fought bravely against the elephants. On the next day of war, she lost her son's father as he tried to protect the livestock from the enemies. And yet, today, hearing the sound of the war drums with a sense of patriotism, she calls her young, only, tender son and tells him about her father and his father's martyrdom in the war, and instilling in him a sense of courage and a sense of patriotism, dressing up in an attire befitting a soldier, and ties his tender locks of hair into a hair bun, and handing him the spear and with a mark of victory on his forehead, sends him to the war field to fight till his last breath, so that his kingdom might win. What courage! It's beyond comprehension.
இன்றும் செருப்பறை கேட்டு விருப்புற்று மயங்கி, இன்றும் செருப்பறை கேட்டு விருப்புற்று மயங்கி, ஒரு மகன் அல்லது இல்லோ, ஒரு மகன் அல்லது இல்லோ, ஏழ் நாளுற்ற செருவிற்கு இவள் தன்னை யானை எரிந்து களத்து ஒழிந்தனே, களத்து ஒழிந்தனே. நெருநாளுற்ற செருவிற்கு இவள் கொழுநன் பெரு நிறை விலங்கி ஆண்டு பட்டனே, ஆண்டு பட்டனே. மெலிது விரித்து உடியே, வெளிது விரித்து உடியே, பாரு மயிர் குடுமி எண்ணெய் நீவி, பாரு மயிர் குடுமி எண்ணெய் நீவி, வேல் கொடுத்து, வேல் கொடுத்து செருமுக நோக்கி, செருமுக நோக்கி, செல்க என விடுமே, செல்க என விடுமே. கெடுக சிந்தை கடிது இவள் துணிவே, கெடுக சிந்தை கடிது இவள் துணிவே, கெடுக சிந்தை கடிது இவள்